So I'm just going to continue on. I know I posted this online, but I just want to fill out this with you. So we're going to just do a quick review of what are the different transformations that we see in the vertex format, and then we're going to graph the new graph. Okay, we're going to graph the transformed function. So if I look at this, y equals a bracket x minus h squared plus 4, I know that this is my vertex form. So this is the vertex form. Transformation can only be stated if I have the vertex form. If I don't have the vertex form, I can't state my transformation. Okay? So A represents the vertical stretch and the vertical compression of your function. And remember that so A represents vertical stretch and vertical compression. Remember that if A is greater than 1, that's a vertical stretch. And if A is between 0 and 1, it's a vertical compression. And we also said if A is negative, then we have a reflection in the x-axis. Okay? So basically this is, when you look at A, you're going to look at, if it's negative, then all what you have to say, it's a reflection in the x-axis. So that takes care of the negative, and then you look at the actual number. If the number is greater than 1, you say it's a vertical stretch. If the number is between 0 and 1, you say it's a vertical compression. K, which is out here, represents your vertical translation. Is it up or is it down? And we have H. H represents your horizontal translation, left or right. H is a little tricky. Remember that H is whatever you see in the bracket, it's opposite to what you see. If it's negative, that means it moves to the right. If it's positive, it moves to the left. And then units of the vertex are taken by H and K. So H and K are your coordinates of the vertex. So they're easy to find. It's a vertex form. The easiest thing to find is your vertex. So what are the steps to graph a quadratic function if it's in vertex form? So you're going to look at your vertex, at your equation, sorry, and you are going to, if the question asks you to state the transformation, you're going to have to state the transformation. If not, you're going to have to find your vertex, and then you're going to have to use your step pattern to graph your next points. So in this case, the question doesn't ask me for stating the transformation, it just says graph the basic parabola. And then it says graph the other backing graph. I'm not going to use step 2, step 3. I'm going to do it all together in one step. Okay? So if I ask you to state the transformation, what would you say? What would be the transformation for y equals negative 4x minus 3 squared plus 5? What does a negative do? reflection in the x-axis. It's causing what? Vertical stretch, because it's a 4, and 4 is greater than 1. Okay? Then you have the 3. That's your horizontal translation. Where is it moving? To the right 3 units. Remember, it's opposite to what you see, okay? So this is a positive 3, okay? And then your 5 is your vertical translation, 5 units up, okay? Because you're adding 5. So if I want to graph this, I'm going to have to, first thing I have to look at is my vertex. What's the vertex? Three, 5, that's right. So remember that H and K represent your vertex, okay? So your vertex is 3, 5. Now, what is my original step pattern? What's my regular step pattern? Regular step pattern is 1, 3, 5, but remember that that step pattern is always going to be affected by the A value. Okay, in this case, my A value is -4, so I'm going to have to multiply that step pattern by -4. So that would be -4, -12, and -20. Okay, so my step pattern is -4, -12, -20. So the first thing I have to do is I have to plot the vertex, okay? So my vertex is going to be 3, 5, so 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's where my vertex is. Make sure you include some points on your graph, okay? Some values on the graph. Then you're going to locate your next points by using your step pattern, okay? So the step pattern says -4, so that means I have to go down 4, and it's always over 1. So I'm going to go down 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm going to go over 1 to both sides. So this is where my next points are. And then for my next one, I'm going to have to go down 12 over 1. Let's see if that fits. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Actually, it ends up right here. And then make sure that when you go down 12, you move over to the right one. Same to the left. Okay? So this graph, I can't fit any more points. So you see that my graph is vertically stretched, right? It looks like it's pretty thin, right? So it's vertically stretched, and it looks like it is reflected in the x-axis. It's opening downward. And remember that the negative of the A value means your graph opens down, right? So it does make sense. What I see on my graph right there, it does make sense of what I've just stated as transformation. Are you guys okay with this? It is trickier when your A value is a fraction or is a decimal, okay? So I'm going to look at the second question right there. We're going to do that one together, and I can give you guys time to do the first one. So if you're looking at the second one, can you state the transformation for me? So it's a half x plus 3 squared plus 1. Can you guys state the transformation? So what does the half do to your graph? Half means between 0 and 1, yes? 0.5, yeah? So that's a vertical what? Compression. And then I have x plus 3 squared. So that plus 3 is actually a what? It's actually a negative 3, right? Because technically it's a negative 3, but then they change it to a positive, yeah? So that's a horizontal translation. 3 units which way? To the left. And a vertical translation, 1 unit up. Okay? This is the end of stating your transformation. Right? So when I ask you to state the transformation, I'm looking for these 3 things. Now, whatever we're going to do next, that has to do with the graphing. Okay? So when I come to graphing, what's the first thing I have to find? I have to find the vertex. What is my vertex? Negative 3, 1. Okay. So your vertex is negative 3, 1. Then you're going to have to look at your step pattern. Your step pattern is A times 1, 3, 5. What's A? It's 0.5. Yeah? Times 1, 3, 5. So that makes your step pattern 0.5, 1.5, and 2.5. Okay? Which means that you're going to use your vertex, and then you're going to have to go up 0.5 over 1, up 1.5 over 1, up 2.5 over 1. So you have to be careful that now you're not going a full number up, you're going half in this case.
So you multiply the A value by the inside.
Yes. Okay. So it's A times your step pattern, which is 1, 3, 5. Can I have your attention, and I'll give you time to copy this. So when it comes to something like this, you want to have your y values a little bit easier, right? So instead of going up by 1, right? Instead of going up by 1, I'm going to go every 2. It's going to be 1. So basically, every square is going to be a half. Okay? Just so so it looks nicer. Okay? Now, for the x value, it's not going to change. It's always going to be by 1. All right? So in this case, it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you see that every 2 squares is equal to 1. This way, I can accommodate for the halves that I have here. Okay? So using your or picking your scale properly is what's going to make the graph easy. Now, my vertex is at negative 3, 1. So my vertex is right here. And it says that I have to go up 0.5 over 1. Okay? So that is my vertex. If I want to go up 0.5, remember that between 1 and 2, that's 1.5. Yeah? So if I go up 0.5 over 1, then I'm going to end up at these 2 points. So I use my scale to help me locate these points easier. Then from this point, I'm going to have to go up 1.5. Okay? So if I'm going to go up 1.5, this is 1. So 2 of them is 1. And then 0.5. So that means I'm going to end up, from here, I'm going to go up 1.5. So I'm going to end up at the 3. Right? I was at 1.5. And I went up 1.5, so that means I'm going to end up at 3. Do you guys understand that? So I'm going up by 1.5. That's my second thing, right? So up 1.5 over 1. I was at 1.5. To go up 1.5 from 1.5, 1.5 plus 1.5 gives me 3. Right? So I'm going to end up at 3. Are we okay with this? My next step is I need to go up 2.5. So where am I going to end up on the y value? I'm at 3, and I have to go up 2.5. Where am I going to end up? 5.5. Right? Because if I'm at 3, go up 2.5, 3 plus 2.5, that's 5.5. So I'm going to end up at 5.5, which is right here. So I'm going to go up 2.5 over 1, so I'm going to end up right here. Okay? These are the trickier ones, so you have to be careful with that. So take your y value and add whatever you're going up by to it.